Hello, my name is Vidhi Salla, and today I will be interviewing two eminent personalities associated with Putney-based puppet theatre company Sandglass Theater, co-founder Eric Baz and his daughter and co-artistic director Shoshana Baz. Eric Baz has worked for over 40 years as a director, playwright, performer, and mask and puppet maker. In 1982, Eric founded Sandglass Theater in Munich, Germany with his wife Ines Zeller-Baz. As a stage director, Eric has worked on 4 continents, and his signature solo work, Autumn Portraits, toured around the world for 3 decades. Eric served for 5 years on the board of the Network of Ensemble Theatres. In 2010, he received the Vermont Governor's Award for Excellence in the Arts. Shoshana Baz is co-artistic director of Sandglass Theater, having been raised in a traveling family of internationally acclaimed puppeteers. She has spent her life witnessing and in dialogue with artistic voices of diverse cultures, heritages, and perspectives. Now she performs, directs, and choreographs internationally. She is the festival director for Sandglass Theater's Puppets in the Green Mountains Festival and Puppets in Paradise. Shoshana also produces the family-friendly Sandglass Winter Sunshine series, as well as the social activist Voices of Community series. She is a touring ensemble member with the company in Babylon, Journeys of Refugees, When I Put On Your Glove, Rock the Boat, Oma, and Punchy. She serves on the executive committee of the National Network of Ensemble Theatres Board, the Youth Committee of Union Internationale de la Marionnette International USA, and her local Equity and Diversity Committee for the town of Putney. Eric and Shoshana are gearing up for their biennial Puppets in the Green Mountains Festival that is back this year after its unfortunate cancellation in 2020. The International 10-Day Puppet Festival will be held from September 9th to 18th in various venues in Brattleboro and Putney in Vermont. This will be the 11th edition of the festival that will feature artists from Germany, Kenya, Ghana, Mexico, Jordan, and Czech Republic. This year's festival has been made possible in part because of these generous funding partners: the Bay and Paul Foundation, the Close Fund, the Thomas Thompson Trust, 2 West Foundation, the Vermont Humanities Council, and the Wyndham Foundation. Sandglass Theater is also celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. Congratulations, Eric and Shoshana and the entire team for the 40 years of creation, inspiring dialogue, and sparking wonder. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for your time, Eric and Shoshana. I would like to start with you, Eric. What does it feel like to celebrate 40 years of Sandglass Theater?
Creaky. What does it feel like? I think it's great. It feels good. There's when we find ourselves in a room with other theater companies, one of the things that reflects back to us is to see our own longevity. That for a theater company, we've been around a while. We have a history, and in that history, a lot of experiences, a lot of stories. Certain things we know how to do. We really know how to pack a suitcase. As far as the festival goes, that's kind of an exciting milestone, an exciting way to sort of mark these 40 years. And I think, I think for myself, I really enjoy the opportunity to be able to celebrate not just within our company and within our family, but to really celebrate in the community and to celebrate with artists from around the world.
That's great. Shoshana, you have been at the helm of planning the Puppets in the Green Mountains Festival. I want you to track back and share what has changed from when you were planning it in 2020 to now? What has the journey been like?
Well, of course, with COVID, there's many things that others I'm sure can relate to about plans that are then evaporated quite quickly. And to come back into the mindset of producing an international festival brings with it a lot of new ways of thinking and new experiences. First of all, it's an international festival, and working with embassies is very different. Getting visas is a much longer, more intensive process than it was before. Planning travel that has a certain risk attached to it, and all the things that we're navigating in the world right now are just a little more intense in the planning. But in many ways, it's quite interesting that this festival was postponed, because now it lines up, as Eric was saying, with the 40th anniversary of the theater. It lines up with the leadership transition that is drawing to a close at the end of this year. And both those things line up very strongly with the theme of the festival, which hasn't really changed. It was already something we were thinking about: roots and wings, the roots of where we come from, or what we've grown from, or the roots that have been cut. All the different ideas of that, and the wings of what inspires us, where we're going, what we can imagine. And that all these are important pieces in any transition, or in marking the legacy of a theater and a community and a history and all these different aspects. This time that we've had to try again with the festival has brought with it many firsts for us. This will be our first festival. We're welcoming a company from Kenya, from Africa at all. Wow. Which is very exciting, as well as our first time bringing a Palestinian artist. Mm-hmm. So there's always opportunity in every crisis. Yeah.
That's wonderful. I want you to talk a little more about the roots and wings, the theme for this year's festival, and what made you decide this would be the theme, and what was your thought process behind that?
Yeah, well, it was inspired by a quote by Goethe that says there are two things parents should give their children: roots and wings. And then there's more after that. That's really beautiful if anyone cares to look it up. And this seemed very much what we were all steeped in this transition of the leadership at the theater. Mm-hmm. And it felt in a lot of ways like every performance speaks to either one or the other.
Right.
That we're always somehow dealing with where we've come from and where we're going, or who we belong to, or what has formed us up until now, and what we can imagine as the best possible future. And there's something extremely hopeful for me about the theme, that wings being essential, roots being essential, all of these to ground us in the present moment, so that a better world might be possible, or we can at least imagine what a better world would look like, so we have something to work towards. So that is where the theme has kind of grown from.
Wonderful. You guys spoke about the leadership transition. Eric, I want you to talk about the leadership transition, and also you have a show that you will be performing this year called Flushing, Make Room for Someone Else. Can you please share more details about this leadership transition in connection with the show that you're planning?
Well, the leadership transition is happening all over the national theater community now. Mm-hmm. And it's something that we talk about within our theater colleague networks a lot. A lot of us who were founders of theaters at roughly the same time, in the 80s, a lot of us have aged out of that work, and for many reasons. I mean, I think that I think a lot of us begin making theater companies because we want to make theater pieces, right? And so we need an organization in which to do our work. And then the company itself places demands on us, a lot of which is fundraising, but there's also responsibility for employees, for actors. I mean, that comes with that. There are outreach programs. A lot of the programs that Sandglass runs, we run because there are only so many opportunities within one's community to present the actual theater pieces we make, but there are many more opportunities within the community to present other wonderful puppetry and theater works and workshops and many of the other things that as a company we do, and that are also wonderful for us. There are opportunities for us to create exchange with colleagues. There are opportunities for us to go deeper in our own training in our work when we teach and train other artists. So this leadership is a much bigger piece than it is. I was going to say simply to create a piece of theater, which is itself not simple at all. Right. I think, speaking for myself, I wouldn't stop being the artist. I'll still want to create work. I'll still want to direct shows. I'll still want to make puppets and write. But I think that I'm done with the fundraising. I think I'm done with the producing aspects. I mean, I'm still here as a resource, but that's not primarily what I want to be working on now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. As far as Flushing goes, the interesting story there is that my colleague Linda Paris Bailey, who for about 45 years was the director of Carpetbag Theater in Tennessee, the oldest continuously running African American theater company in the country. Wow. Linda and I were having a conversation at an ensemble theater networking event, and we realized two things. We realized, first of all, that we were both stepping down from leadership of our companies at about the same time. And we also realized that we were born only a few miles from each other and only a few years apart. Wow. She in Flushing, New York, and I in Forest Hills, New York, both parts of the borough of Queens. And in between, our theater lives really took divergent paths, but we thought there's a story here. There's an interesting story here, and it's a story of legacy. It's also a story of race and class in terms of how we grew up. It's also a story of what it means to pass something on, what it means to give something up. So we think we have a piece that speaks in a certain way to our generation, but we think it's also a piece that speaks to all generations. And Shoshana can probably talk much more about that.
Yeah, that's really exciting. I love this story, and I love how you created this theater piece that audiences will be able to watch your journey, your colleague Linda's journey, and Shoshana, you can talk more about the same production.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful piece that not only does it speak to multiple generations, but it really speaks to all sorts of fields and walks of life. It's not exclusive to someone's experience running a theater company. The same goes for any family-run business that's passed to the next generation, or anyone's between that phase of, maybe stepping back from what has been your life's work or something you've invested so much in, and what is next. It's not about, okay, so I finished working, now I die. It's, I finished this chapter, and what's this next chapter that we as a culture don't really talk about very much or discuss. And in that, Eric and Linda are having conversations with their parents throughout the whole piece, who are in puppet form. And the puppets were built by my mother, and they're these beautiful renderings of the 4 ancestors that are present throughout the whole thing. And they have this opportunity to really talk and listen to the stories that are still contained, what wisps of memory remain from their parents. And I think that process is also, anyone has a way in to that kind of how we talk to where we've come from, to be in the moment we're in when we're repeating something we saw our parents go through.
Yeah, it sounds super relatable. And is this going to be in Putney and Brattleboro? This will be the first, this will be like a premiere of Flushing, is that correct?
Yes, it will be specially paired on Thursday, the 15th of September, with the big gala that will be our 40th anniversary celebration, and really honor that. And then anyone who is coming to the gala automatically has a ticket for Flushing, and there'll be a little parade. We'll all go over to the New England Youth Theater and experience Flushing. And there'll be one more show after that, also at the Youth Theater on the Friday night, that is not attached to the gala. So if someone just wants to come for the show, they can do that.
How exciting. How exciting. This question is for you both, or whoever has been planning festivals. I mean, you have been planning them for a long time. As a festival planner, what are some of the challenges that you face, and how do you overcome them? I know that there are a lot of stories, a lot of anecdotes, but I want you to think of a few.
Yes. Well, I mean, the obvious one, of course, is how one brings international artists into the country, and there are costs involved. There's a lot of bureaucracy involved. There are changing visa situations, and COVID has been a game changer and a big uncertainty, certainly for this festival. There are other things, there are challenges, balancing the festival so that there's something in it for everybody, so that there's work for adult audiences, there's work for family audiences, there's work that's more narrative, there's work that's more abstract, there's work that's more visual, there's work that's more based in storytelling. I mean, there's getting that balance each year in a different way. I have to say that's also one of the most creative aspects of producing the festival is
curating it in the right way.
Yes, absolutely. That's beautiful. But I remember, I think it was the 2015 festival, we were bringing a group from Cuba. And I had been in Cuba on tour in 2014, and that's its own story. But I mean, I think everyone knows that political relationships between the United States and Cuba have been, they've had their ups and downs. I mean, they're certainly never straightforward. And I think we finally got the visas to bring the company in here like 2 days before they were flying. You know, we got this wild phone call from Cuba that I'm running to the plane now and the visas are in my hand, you know, but we didn't know. And it was long after the fact that we discovered that the visas had all been approved here. They were sitting on the desk of someone in Cuba, just sitting on the desk and sitting and sitting and sitting. And somebody, I don't know, just didn't get around to it. We don't know. We'll never know why. We'll never know why. And And I think that's true of a lot of things that are in some ways bureaucratic. You really don't know why something is held up. Certainly as the petitioner, you're not privy to that information most of the time. And is it happening in your own country? Is it happening in the country of the artist? So it's hard to solve a problem where you don't know what the root of it is. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. To add to that, will be my third festival as a director, and I think that there's always something exciting and some kind of crisis, and always some make something up. And I think the history of the festival has been one of adaptability. The history of Sandglass has been one of constant adaptation to whatever current economic reality or travel reality or whatever cultural reality is in the works. So I think that carries forward always, and that's the nature of being a creative, is that it's really, it continues in the problem solving of producing just as much as in creating your own work. And for us, I think it's the partnerships that are the most important with all of that. The way, Senator Leahy's office is on standby with us for support when we need it for visa applications. The way we work with local venues for all the performances, the partners that are coming in for the panel discussions, and the community businesses that are in the all these layers. We're a very small staff, and this is quite a large festival in the scope and in the amount of work. So it's really about the board and the volunteer support, like everyone that comes in and is marketing director is part of making this happen. And is really a testament to existing within a community, and that we are as strong as the community that holds us. And that's so clear for me when we do try to do something like this.
Yeah, it takes a village, like you said. And when you spoke about your partners, I want to talk about the venue partners for this year's festival. The shows are going to be held at the Latches, Next Stage Arts, Brattleboro Museum, New England Youth Theater, and the Hilltop Montessori School. So these are some of the best venues in Windham County, and also your longtime collaborators. In what way have these venues contributed to the success of your festival over the years?
We couldn't do it without the venues. Sandglass, we have our own theater, but it's a very intimate 60-seat theater in a renovated barn in Putney. And especially with COVID and the potential to need to distance, especially with it being a festival in which we want everybody to come and see these amazing shows coming from all over the world. And if we can only let 60 people in, why bother? Sometimes it's an intimate experience, and that's beautiful too. But to be able to go into the youth theater which is just an incredibly well-equipped theater, which I think for a lot of the shows we bring, they need the caliber of equipment that can happen at the youth theater that we can't provide at Sandglass. Next Stage is just such a partner to us. We like to call it Theater Row in Putney, because we're next door neighbors. So there's a lot of working together on different events. We love working with the Latches. They've always hosted this big school show where all sorts of schools come together for one big show. And we're just always have these huge smiles watching the kids pour in and sit and fill in the seats. And we're really excited. The Kenyan company will be performing for the schools at the Latches this year. And they've been really great partners to us. Yeah.
And taking people, I think there's something about also taking the visiting artists to these venues, that the venues are inspiring. Right. All the family shows will be up at the theater at Hilltop Montessori, and just driving up that beautiful hill and getting that gorgeous view of the mountains from up there, and saying, artists, this is your theater.
And it's a beautiful theater. They did a great job with that. We should also add the Hooker Dunham is hosting a puppet slam So some colleagues of ours have taken on curating a puppet slam that will be on the first weekend of the festival.
Okay.
Which for anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's in echo of the poetry slam. That's short form puppetry it's a late night entertainment, I guess one would call it. So that's happening in the Hooker Dunham space. So we really kind of go everywhere with the festival, and there's been some festivals that have gone out into Rockingham and used the venues out there, and this year we're a little bit more contained around here, but we are lucky to live in a place that has so many accessible, beautiful venues.
Yeah.
We should also say that this is the first year that we will have an online puppet film festival for people who either aren't in the community or are too far away or don't feel comfortable yet going out to live shows. That Chad Williams from Wonderspark Puppets in New York has curated a film festival, and so you can get a taste of the festival sitting at home.
Oh, that's wonderful. And how can someone access and get tickets to the online festival?
It will be available on our website.
Okay.
No, it's not up here. puppetsinthegreenmountains.net. And there'll be a little drop-down menu for the film festival, and you can just access it right there.
How exciting.
Yeah.
It's like something for everyone. There are shows for adults, shows for kids, shows for families, and for people that do not want to go out there. But it's all different. The films online are different from the performances that people will see in person, and that I think is really exciting.
Yeah, the films have been made as films, puppet films, which really, as you can imagine, exploded over COVID as something that many puppeteers turned towards. And it has become its own form now. So there exist now all these amazing puppet films, including a little piece called Amal's Journey. It used to be called The Walk, and now it's called Little Amal's Journey, which is just this beautiful piece that a gigantic puppet was built who represents a refugee child who has been walked all across Europe, from Syria all the way up into England, and will be landing in New York City right around the time of our festival. And we'll do a walk through all 5 boroughs there. But we'll be showing a piece of the video of what this journey has been. So even if you are coming to live shows, I recommend that everyone take an hour and watch these online films as well, because they're really stunning.
Yes, I saw some rushes, and they captivate you because it's a story. At the end of the day, it's storytelling, but in puppet form, and there's so much creativity involved. So I would recommend everyone to go and watch those films. And I want you to mention some of the shows and some of the companies, because this is the first time that, like you said, you are having a company from Kenya, someone from Jordan for the first time. So can you talk a little bit about what their shows are about?
So the company from Kenya is performing, and this is appropriate for any age, children, adults, whatever. We like to codify puppet theater for adults or for children, but really this is for everybody. So this is a very lively show full of puppets, music, dance. There's some call and response, so you're really like part of the experience of the storytelling. It's about a monkey. It's called Tears by the River, and you meet many of the animals of the jungle on the journey. And I don't want to give away the story, just to say that it's a really vibrant, upbeat experience that will have you on your feet clapping along. So we have that. We have the 2 family shows, as we are calling them, that will be up at Hilltop are the one regional puppeteer actually based in Boston, Sarah Nolan, who was here for Puppets in Paradise, for anyone that came out and saw we have short form pieces all over the retreat grounds. So she did a small excerpt of what is a full show that she will be bringing called Judy Saves the Day, which is a take on the classic Punch and Judy style, but it's all about Judy and her well-deserved nap that she gets at the end of the day. And it's very slapsticky, high, high energy, rhythmic, super fun piece of puppet theater.
Sarah's also a brilliant representative of the hand puppet style, right? So this is part of the variety that we want in the festival, that there are so many different forms of puppetry.
Right.
And some of them are traditional and some of them are contemporary and abstract. And Sarah, she really has her hands on the hand puppet, in the hand puppet. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other show for children will be Vidhi Theater, who are from Germany. And they have a show called The Day My Father Became a Bush, which is it's made from a children's book. And it's a refugee story, but told through the perspective of a child, for children. Vidhi Theater was here for the 2015 festival with a Romeo and Juliet that was done entirely without words. That was so beautiful. So they're back now with another show, and they draw on the floor, and you come and children participate as well, and sitting on these beds on the floor. So and they'll be talking also on a panel. So we have to greater contextualize some of the shows. There's panels throughout the festival, which we call Access Through the Arts. And at these forums, we've paired guest artists, our international guest artists, together with local community leaders to talk about where their work intersects and what they, what's part of Roots and Wings they're addressing together. So the performer from Vidhi Theater will be talking together with one of the local authors who just published this book, Parenting for Social Justice. And they're going to be talking about what it is to talk with children about some of these more difficult worldly issues.
So these panels are going to be held throughout the course of the festival, and they are free for all. Is what I have read.
Yeah.
And
they will also be live streamed through HowlRound. So if anyone does not feel comfortable or can't show up in person or doesn't live here, you can still tune in for these incredible conversations. They'll be facilitated with a Youth for Change representative from the Root Social Justice Center here in Brattleboro.
Wow.
And there'll be more. So the Palestinian performer who's coming from the Czech Republic with his performance partner is doing a piece called War Maker, which really follows the story of this refugee story of what it is when you're displaced by war after war after war. This particular character dreams of being a filmmaker in Hollywood, making sci-fi movies, and the story is told in these suitcases, and there's just these scraps of paper with little bits of memories or places written on them, and it's all done with a live feed camera, so you see these very small scenes play out really big. Little more in the realm of what we'd call object theater. And so he'll be talking on his panel with a local and international judge, Patty Whalen, who has done all sorts of incredible work all over the world in international law and human rights. And that kind of addresses more the aspect of like what happens when the roots are cut. And where do we go? How do we continue to dream?
Yeah, your theater company from Mexico, Paradox Theater, is doing something on the lines of object theater. Like you mentioned, they have a sand painting that's part of the live theater
Yeah, so they use Paradox Theater as a kind of cross-border culture company. So the founders, one is from Mexico, one is from the US, and they their puppetry style is what we call a body puppet. So the puppet is connected to the body, but they work in this incredible visual way where these stories, the protagonist is a photographer and his photographs and his stories are made in sand painting. Wow. So she's live in real time painting these pictures that are projected out through the puppet, through her own hand. Wow. And she'll be teaching a workshop too. So if anybody wants to play with sand painting and projection and how they interface and kind of get a much closer experience of this company and their art form and how they work, there is a workshop.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
So much to look forward to at this festival.
We should talk about Kevin also for a moment.
Yeah, I was going to ask about Lone Wolf Tribe, Kevin.
This is an extraordinary show from the foreign country of New York City, and Kevin's been around the New York scene for a long time, and his work is rich and original, and the animation of the puppets are just magnificent. We use the word animation rather than manipulation, because anima is much more about the soul. It's about how you breathe that soul into these puppets, and it's not an easy show to describe. But Kevin is essentially alone on stage with large foam rubber puppets of body parts, a foot, a hand, a head, and
an eye.
An eye. The piece has this wonderful balance between a gorgeous, tender aesthetic and some very, very good humor. And he just pulls these things together in toward what I think of as a really humanistic conclusion. It's done entirely without language. It's all about what you see and experience viscerally. Wow. So it was a hit in New York when we saw it, and we know it will be here too.
Yeah, it's considered one of the most successful shows, and it's exciting that Kevin Augustine is going to be here as part of the Puppets in the Green Mountains Festival.
Yeah.
So, to bring it all together, what are you guys most looking forward to this year's festival?
I would say for me, and I think for many people coming out of the last couple of years, community has taken on a new meaning, and community celebration and the importance of gathering and joy, being joyful together, eating together. So I think for me, just the gathering and this special feeling. So artists, when we host them in our community, they are fed by community members who host meals every night. Different community members cook for all the artists and staff members of the festival. They're often housed in community homes. We have presenters who are looking at work who come and stay. People who come from further afield to see the festival. People gathering at the Whetstone after all the shows are over to just continue the conversation and keep going and be inspired. And people who make fringe events, Cynthia Parker Houghton, who's a local community member, who made this incredible Phoenix puppet this last year. She'll be coming out with the Phoenix puppet, and I asked her to walk us over in the parade from the gala to the performance, and she said, okay, but I'm going to make a workshop for community members to come build wings, and we'll all walk in the parade. And I thought, great, this is how it works. And that's the spirit that we hope to continue to cultivate, that this is just a time for the community to gather around wonderful theater and wonderful artists, and and just enjoy this time together. And the art is our means,
Yes.
and a really exciting means. And I think the gathering is really the ends.
Wow, that's a beautiful way of putting it. What about you, Eric?
Oh, I think that from the beginning, the festival was a lot about sharing, and I think that's still my big pleasure. And it's sharing as in a two-way street. You know, it's just as enjoyable to show our community to the visiting artists as it is to introduce our community to work that's being created, coming from other places and cultures and understandings of art. There was I can't remember which festival it was that we had. We had two companies at that festival from Brazil, and we went up to Green Mountain Orchard and just sampled apples. I mean, we have a wide range of apples that they don't have in Brazil. You know, in Brazil, it's bananas, okay, but here it was apples, and then just to kind of stand there and say, which is your favorite? You know, the Honey Crisp, the Macallan. I mean, what do you like? And it's an aspect of the community that you can't get it in a video.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
So you just gotta hold it in your hand and take a bite. And so there are things like that about also I think the America that people from other countries see in Hollywood movies is not the America that we live in.
Vermont.
In Vermont and in this community. Right. And so this is surprising to people.
Yeah.
And then the other side of it, of course, is how we get to share the artists with people in the community, and their friendships have been made that have lived long after the festival. People from our community who've gone over and visited some of the artists they've become friends with in Europe or other parts of the world. We all have assumptions about what things are like someplace else, and we're usually wrong.
Yeah, I would say, especially about Vermont, it feels like this other place, other planet that's separate from the rest of America, and the whole culture, the community of the place is so sacred that it's an element that is present in everybody's work, and especially when that work is art. I think the community really enhances that work. Has been my experience of the last 5 years of being in Vermont. So very excited for the festival, and good luck, you guys, for this year's Puppets in the Green Mountains Festival. You will watch a promo of all the acts, little clips of the performances that you can expect to watch at this year's festival. And for all the other information, the workshops, the panel discussions, you can find on their website, which is puppetsinthegreenmountains.net. I hope that a lot of people come to watch the great shows that you have planned.
Thank you, Vidhi.
Thank you, Vidhi.
My pleasure.